Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Castlevania The Adventure. We are on the third and penultimate stage of the game. There's only 4 levels, it's quite a short game ultimately. This is the torture chamber level. I've seen a lot of people claim it to be the lowest point of the game, the most dangerous and difficult level. I'm not sure how I feel about that. If you can get it right, I've practiced it, I have beaten it. It's not too bad. It feels scarier and more dangerous than it actually is, so long as you get the timing right, and the rest of that's not too bad. At the same time, I have had times since where I've been trying to record this episode and things just have not gone my way. Like enemy timing seems to have changed, attacks seem to be missing, all of that sort of thing. And that makes this game a lot more difficult. So maybe I just got lucky in my previous attempts. And, yeah. And it wasn't actually as easy as I thought it was. I tried to go back for that candle there. Generally, you want to avoid the candles on this stage. They're just going to slow you down. Most of them only give you coins. But that candle back there gives you a 1-up. So I was trying to go back for it in the hope that maybe I could go and grab that. Because, you know, every little extra helps on this game. But unfortunately I haven't been able to get the timing down for it. These candles are a waste. They give you health pickups, which are useless at this point. You can't have taken any damage. All of these spikes instantly kill you. They're just there to waste your time and cause you to get hit by the spikes as that you go up. It's always nice to have that extra orb for the long range attack. It's not hugely useful in this stage, it's just not really built to make use of the projectiles. But the extra damage at the very least is handy, assuming we don't, die and waste it. This is probably the section I've seen the most people talk about, complain about, find most difficult. It's this vertical climb. It is quite difficult, I will admit. You need to get your timing right. Especially when dealing with these bug enemies. I think they're called worms or slimes or slugs or something like that. It's the typical JRPG thing where there are bug enemies, but they're clearly not the type of bug that they name them as. Like, it's a weirdly common thing in JRPGs to be like, oh yeah, this is a slug or a worm or whatever, and it's clearly like some sort of grub or larvae or something like that. This is a nasty one. You need to climb up here. You just kind of need to guesstimate where you need to drop off, and then you need to jump on this platform and run across it. The gap's slightly bigger than usual, so you need to get your timing right. This section I found quite difficult on previous attempts. That knocked me up on the last one. That really struggled on it. But if you get it right, it's not too bad. Along here, you ignore this enemy. They're actually just there to distract you and to waste your time. In reality, you want to come up here. And you want to do this little bit of somewhat tricky platforming. It is nasty platforming there. You don't have any time to waste. You need to get it pretty much perfect. So it is a bit of a struggle. But it is towards the end of this climb, I believe. I think that was about the 2/3 mark. So we were kinda coming up on the end of it. You can see how the unupgraded whip, because these are enemies that take 2 hits to kill, does make things a bit more difficult. Because all of a sudden these enemies are, a little more difficult to get rid of. Luckily, we climb slightly faster than the auto-scroller goes up, so we can regain our position if we do mess up. Or we are slowed down slightly by the enemies. Honestly, in a lot of cases, it's better to just jump over them. On the second hit, when they roll up and go for the second hit, a lot of the time it's better to just jump over them rather than try and get the second attack in. Yeah, this section's a lot more dangerous if you don't have the upgraded whip. And you get the timing wrong, you can get messed up by these enemies. Oh, we were nearly there. But yeah, you can see that the unupgraded whip makes those sections quite dangerous. But yeah, we have this section, and then we have another auto-scroller, this time going horizontally once we get past this climb. So it is quite a gauntlet at this point, but it's not too bad. And ignore any situation where the pill bugs are going through walls or whatever. There is one secret area, or I will show you at the end, but in most cases, just because the game is built with duct tape, that the enemies are going through walls and all the rest of that, they're not hinting at secret areas. Despite what you might assume, that's just them phasing through the game in the same way that the bats in the last level were kind of ended up sitting inside blocks and all the rest of that. They're not hinting at a secret area or anything like that. The game's just not built or programmed very well. It's part of the reason that there's just constant slowdown, and then every so often you get weird visual glitches where it looks like code or unloaded assets kind of are just appearing in midair and all the rest of that. That's all just because the game's not programmed very well. Yeah, generally you just want to jump over those. There are some cases where you don't really have the option to do that, but yeah, when you can. Yeah, I don't really have any kind of hint on where to jump off on that section. You just kind of need to feel it. After a while, you kind of gather where you need to be for it. Just damage boost through that. It's easier than trying to time it yourself properly, or trying to hit them twice. Generally, you do want to be on the ropes as little as possible. So if you can jump off at the right time, that's good. Oh, it didn't register my jump input. The problem with those little blocks, as much as the jumps aren't actually very dangerous because they're so small, sometimes the game just does that, doesn't recognize an input, and you plummet to your death. And there are a few jumps like that, especially in the horizontal side-scroller. You just kinda gotta get used to it. I admit my inputs aren't being eaten as much as people claim they are in reviews, but it does happen, and it is really annoying. I should have just hit that guy and jump over his orb form, rather than try and jump over him in usual grub mode. That was my mistake, but again, health really isn't that big of a deal on this stage. You don't need to conserve your health in the same way you did on stage 2. It's more about conserving your time in getting your timing right. I think it's when that kind of the fourth block in that section that's kind of drooping down appears, that's when you need to jump. So you kind of want to look at the brickwork texture and use that for your timing. Oh, damage boost, whatever. As long as we make it past them, it's fine. We're fine. Ignore this guy. We want to wait until all of these blocks are in view before we go, because you'll notice some of them are the falling block type, and if you don't have them all on screen, then you're just going to get wasted. You're just going to have something like that happen, where the rope isn't available yet for you to jump onto. Yeah, it's a tough stage. Again, not impossible like I've seen people claim, but yeah, it's definitely tricky. I can see in a game that frankly worked better that this would actually be quite a well-liked stage. It is difficult, it does test your platforming ability, but in a game where it takes so long to redo sections and where your inputs just sometimes aren't registered, yeah, I can see why the stage ended up being somewhat reviled. Skip over the pill bug. Again, so those blocks there, they'd spawn in before anything else does. I'm kind of looking for that 4th block to appear, and then that's when I'm going and climbing up this rope, jumping onto that platform, going for this rope. I find that times better. This section's tricky, but if we can jump over the 2nd pill bug, that works in our favour. Again, we wasted a bit of time with the fact that my directional input wasn't registered, but because we climb slightly faster than the auto-scroller goes up, it works anyway. There we go. I think that's only, the 2nd time we've gone to this stage. Oh, you're kidding me. I think I might be having to cut forward in the video. I will admit that I am save scumming at the start of every stage. I'm not like redoing the entire game if I fail during practicing or whatever. So yeah, I might be about to go and cut back here. Having, oh, you're kidding me. Just get out of the way. Yeah. Game over? Yeah. Alright. I'll see you guys back at that elevator shaft. That first section, once you know what you're doing, really not that bad. Definitely worse sections in the level. You kind of go in and you go, oh my god, what is this? Until you realise that actually it's the easiest bit of the level you're about to go through. And you go, oh no. This is actually the best it's going to get. Wonderful. Of course, I went in and made sure that I got the fully upgraded whip when we come back to this section. Even though it's only going to help us so much, hopefully it does give us a little bit of advantage, at least on this first go. Honestly, it's not really the pill bugs that are throwing us off outside of that one area. It's mostly just getting that platforming right later on. This section is fine now that we've got this 4-block strategy here. We know what the timing is, there's no chance of the spikes coming to catch us up. This section is the tricky one because I just can't get the timing right, but with our longer whip we can deal with that enemy, it's fine. I would like to keep this increased whip length for that one enemy that we have to fight while we're on that single block. That would be very useful if we can keep this for that section. I think that will most likely let us get to the end of this. I knew it was too good. I could tell that was a little too slow on those falling platforms. I was like, oh, it'd be too good, wouldn't it? It would be too good to get to the top of that section without getting hit. I promise you, I did this like 2 or 3 times flawlessly in my practice. Hence why I came in here full of bravado. I was quite braggadocious coming in because I was like, this is fine. I don't know what all the fuss is about. No, I definitely get what the fuss is about now. I clearly got a good set of timing and all the rest of that when I was coming through on my first time, because this is nasty. And repetitive. When you're going through the game and you're kind of going through and you're not dying and all the rest of that like I was doing in the first 2 stages, you don't really appreciate how slow the game is because you're not having to retry things. But now that I am, yeah, I could really do with Christopher getting those weights out of his shoes. Stop dragging his feet in every sense of the word. I find it's better to just kind of jump straight up on that section rather than try and like jump into the enemy, because all that happens is you get hit, you get knocked back. It's a nightmare. Again, ignore this guy. I don't know what the secret is here. I think maybe I'm jumping a little too early. Oh my god. Ooh, can we get it? Can we get it anyway? It'll be close. It'll be very close. But no. It's that second one tile block, or whatever you want to call it, those thin blocks. That second one I need to be just a little bit later jumping off of it, I think. To make sure I have the distance necessary to get over those 2 blocks and get to the rope before they fall. I think that's the problem. Christopher, your refusal to jump when I tell you to jump killed you there. I did a jump input twice before he actually jumped off the rope. You do kind of just need to resort to spamming buttons to make sure that Christopher actually listens to you in some situations. And again, we're only a third of the way through the level here. Christopher, please, when I tell you to jump, can you just jump? I think this will screw us over by here as well. Oh, are we going to be able to get through it anyway? Possibly. If we can get onto these ropes, we're fine. We'll reset our position effectively. We'll get back up here. And we're fine again. We saved it. Again, I would like to be taking a few more points from defeating the pill bugs, but it's whatever. If we survive, whatever strategy we use to get around them is fine by me. Oh, this section's nasty without the increased whip length. Especially if you have to hit those guys when they're not in a position where you can just jump over them. But again, we have a lengthy rope climb, which helps us reset our position. Alright, that should be good. Yes! Ooh, you just barely grip onto it. Oh, there we are. Is this the furthest we've gone thus far? I think it is. Honestly, past this point, I found the stage pretty easy, but we've seen how the stage that I found pretty easy up till now backfired on us. So I'm not going to make anything definitive until we're all the way through, which I think we are. As long as we don't jump onto that other rope too early, we're pretty much good to go. Alright, this is a section. This is the horizontal section I was talking about. You ignore all of these candles. None of them are useful for you. I think all of them are coins. They're all just going to delay you running away from these set of spikes. Pill bugs are, of course, a nuisance, but if you can get your timing right, you can get over them pretty easily. It's not too bad of a section. There's one bit right at the end that's pretty nasty. The other thing is that the wall is slightly slower if you die and have to come back to this section, which makes things a lot easier, but it's doable even at its original speed. As long as you ignore all of the candles, you're quick on the pill bugs, you don't waste any time. It's not too bad. This section is intimidating, but it is doable. The spikes will close in on you quite a bit here. But again, as long as you're quick, you're not wasting time, you'll get through them. That's the tricky jump. Those two little ones there. Once you get past them, the stage really isn't too bad. But those two jumps there are nasty. But yeah, because the spikes take a little bit longer to appear if you die, this section does become a lot more manageable on your second attempt. or third or whatever, your any attempt where you've had to go and reset on it, we'll see. I would have liked to get here with a few more lives, but I reckon I'm hopeful we'll get through it easily enough. I'll be honest, the spikes themselves aren't too much of a danger. There's not really a section where you're likely to waste enough time to run into them unless you really messed up. It's more that they're just a constant threat that means you can't take your time with anything. They're not so much a danger in and of themselves, it's just the effect they have on the rest of the platforming that makes them dangerous. Like there, you can't have the luxury of waiting until you're right to the very zenith of your jump. For that. Ooh. Again, the final bit of platforming after them's not too bad. And there's not much in the way of enemies past it either. And if we can get past that, we're pretty much in luck because we'll have an infinite supply of 1-ups. Though it will mean that we're going to be going into the final level with very little in the way of resources, so maybe it would be worthwhile to have another go at this stage while we're here. Whatever the case is, we'll see. It might be I have to go and reset again. Pillbug, go away. Again. They're an enemy that you can tell that sometimes the devs just don't want you to fight them. They just want you to, or kill them I should say. Sometimes they just want you to knock them off. And speed past them, rather than worry about dealing with them. You know, you can just let them roll off onto a pit or whatever. Or respawn above you, or whatever happens. Don't worry about them. It looks like we're making good pace here, because the spikes are only just now appearing at the edge of the screen. But let's not rest on our laurels. Yeah, this section's not too bad. Oh, unless you press the wrong button, of course. I knew that something was going to go wrong. I was like, it's fine, we'll get through it. Nah. I think another reset is likely in order, to be honest. Seeing as we're getting through this with only, well, with no continues left now. At best, we're going to have one more. I don't think that puts us in particularly good standing going into the final level, so quite likely we'll need to reset, but we'll see how it goes anyway. Pillbug, go away. Don't like the slowdown, but it doesn't really affect the platforming as much as people make it out to. And this is slightly better than the last area, where you really couldn't afford to waste any time in your platforming. This, like, you know, you can't be dilly-dallying, you can't be sitting there doing nothing. But you can, you know, like mess up a jump here or there. Or take a little longer to hit an enemy than you would like, compared to the vertical section, where if you missed a jump, that's it, you're dead. Right, well, there we are. I guess we're resetting. I'll see you guys again in a moment. Back at that horizontal scrolling section. In the typical fashion, without the stress of having to effectively perform for the camera, I got through that entire section without dying once. So we're here, even with a more fully upgraded whip. Which, again, doesn't really benefit us at all in this section especially, but just as an example of the fact that we beat that entire section off camera in a single go. I promise that I did practice and I was doing well on previous attempts, it's just that on camera all of a sudden, and this is something that I have often done on camera, all of a sudden any skill I seem to have possessed beforehand disappears. I think that's the only real enemy here where the extra whip length really benefits us, because it means we're not getting hit by them as they leave. Ah. Well, a while go downhill somewhere, but you can see by my continues that I am being honest. I got all of the way here without dying once. I did try to go for that extra 1-up at the start again, but still couldn't quite get the timing right. Ah well, we made good pace again here, so I'm happy. Again, Castlevania the Adventure stages, once you know what you're doing, they don't actually take that long. Yeah, this section though is quite repetitive. It is just a lot of those kind of these difficult jumps, and then you go on a corridor that goes back and forth, and then you're back on this dangerous jump over, so to speak, well, a pit. No so to speak about it, it is a pit. There we are. Maybe there are some of these candos that actually do have something useful in them, but in my previous experience, none of the ones that I ended up hitting had anything useful in them, so I'm just going to go out and assume that they put all of them to be fairly useless, just to throw you off for anyone trying to, like, perfect their level, really struggle. I'm not going to talk here, we'll just see how this goes. You just need to fall on that one rather than go for the jump. But once we get here, I think it's just this final corridor going back and forth, and we're good. As long as we're quick about it. And the slowdown is pretty miserable here, because by Castlevania the Adventure standards, there are a lot of things that the game's calculating at once. So it does get a pretty miserable regarding your slowdown there. But that's it. That's the horizontal journey done. But there is one more secret I want to show you before we go into the boss fight. You can see these slightly different coloured and shaped bricks along the wall here. In different coloured versions of the game, they're really obvious. But you can just about make them up, even here. And this is very beneficial for the final room. It gives us a powered up whip, it gives us a health refill, and it gives us a 1-up. And the best thing about it is that you can go back to that room every single time you fail at the boss fight. So I'll be honest, this third boss, this penultimate boss of the game, is actually the easiest of all of them, because there is no real danger to it. You're basically guaranteed to win, because it can't actually, like, you can just go back and grab a 1-up every time you fail, effectively, and a more powerful whip to deal more damage. He's only got 10 HP, so he's not that tanky by boss standards anyway. I find the best thing to do is to wait under this platform. Sometimes he'll kinda do this from the edge of the screen. Sometimes he'll do it from above the platform, and you'll usually just have to take the hit there. And sometimes he comes down to ground level and just walks towards you. And that's the easiest to deal with, of course. But honestly, he's the easiest boss in the game, even without the infinite 1-ups. Just before him, that means you can't actually lose to him. Just like that, he's gone. He's not really a tough enemy at all. But that gives us 6 lives to take on this final challenge. Dracula's Castle proper. Castlevania proper. We'll see how it goes in the next episode, the finale of Castlevania the Adventure. Perhaps it's not a game as bad as people make it out to be, but yeah, it's definitely still not good. It's fine. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Tune in next time. But for now, thank you for watching. Adios, and ciao.